My name is Sam, and this happened in 2012. Me and my daughter Emma moved into a house. This house was fairly old, maybe 60 or 70. It was big and a bit run down. That's how I got it so cheap. I planned on fixing it up and making some money on it. At this point, Emily was 6 years old. 2 years prior to this, my wife passed away. Emma had a lot of trouble dealing with this, and of course so did I. But when a little girl loses her mother so young, it takes 10 times as long to move on. Emma had not been the same since the loss of her mother, and although her and I had a very good relationship, it still seemed like a part of her was missing. About 2 weeks after we moved into our new house, she all of a sudden became much happier. She was just like she was when my wife was alive. I didn't question it. In fact, I loved it. All I wanted was for my little girl to be happy. One day, I had just made dinner and set the table. I went upstairs to get Emma, and just as I was about to turn the handle, I heard something. She was talking, like she was having a conversation with someone. I thought it must have just been an imaginary friend. She was young enough for one, so I didn't think it was a problem. I opened the door, and she stopped talking. "Hi, Emma," I said. "Who are you talking to?" "No one," she replied. "Only pretending." "Okay," I said. "It's time to come down for dinner." I forgot about it. She just seemed like a kid having fun. This actually made me happy. It went on for about 3 weeks before it started to concern me. She would spend hours talking to someone that wasn't there. She seemed like she was having so much fun. I thought about calling a child counselor, but I convinced myself she'd grow out of it. Eventually, I sat her down and told her with a stern voice that I wanted to know who she was talking to. It took a while, but eventually she confessed. "It's Mummy," she said. "What?" I asked. "Mummy's been playing with me," she said. "Emma, you know Mummy went to heaven." "I know," she replied, "but she can visit me whenever she wants." This really stressed me out. I didn't know what to do about it. I didn't really believe in ghosts, so I assumed it had to have just been Emma's way of dealing with her loss. In the end, I thought that either way, there's not really a problem. I would love to think my wife was still around helping my daughter. And if she is just imagining it, at least it's helping her cope. I just accepted it, and Emma kept having her one-sided conversations from there on. A few months later, it was my daughter's birthday, and we were doing a small party for her, just with her family and friends. We were all singing happy birthday to her, and I was snapping picture after picture of her blowing out her candles. It was a great day. The next day, I was looking through all the photos I took. I was planning on uploading them to Facebook, and I was trying to find the best one of her blowing out her candles. And then suddenly, I stopped, because this photo was different. In all the photos, there was 2 groups of partygoers on either side of Emma. But in this photo, they were joined by an out-of-the-ordinary figure. I adjusted a few things on the photo, and it became clear. The woman was my dead wife. She was standing in the distance watching the party. I was understandably stunned. My daughter had been telling the truth. The ghost of her mother had been watching over her. I was now smiling. Maybe we're still a family after all. A few days later, I was watching TV late at night. It had just clicked past midnight, and I thought I should go to bed. I got up, and as I always do, went to check on my daughter. I walked up the stairs and went to her door. It was slightly open. I peeked my head in and was frightened by what I saw. My daughter was asleep in her bed with something standing over her. I was alarmed at first, but then it became clear. It was my wife. I yelled my wife's name, and she turned her head and stood up. I was overjoyed until the small amount of light that was in the room hit her face. Although it was my wife's face, something was horrifying. Her eyes were replaced with black ones, and she was about 7 foot tall. Her face was covered by a look of anger.
"Get out,"
it yelled, and the door slammed, hitting me on the head. I quickly ran back in the room, but it was gone. I stood there in shock, eventually grabbing my daughter and running downstairs to my room. I was terrified. Whatever that was, it was not my wife, only taking the form of her, most likely to gain the trust of Emma. I told Emma not to talk to it anymore, and explained that it was not her mother. It made her very sad to hear, and I felt bad for telling her that, but it was clear that the entity was dangerous. I made Emma sleep with me for the next week or so. Eventually, I asked her if she had seen it recently. She explained that she saw it the day after I did, and she told it to go away and that she didn't want it around anymore. The entity then got very angry and started yelling at her. She hadn't seen it since, and that was about 2 weeks ago. I was happy about this. Perhaps it wouldn't come back since its cover was now blown. This relaxed me for the next few days. I even let Emma sleep in her own room. A few nights later, I went to bed like usual. At some point in the night, I woke up. Or at least, I thought I did. I couldn't move. It took me a moment to notice the dark figure standing in my doorway. It was immediately horrifying. The figure was completely black, but somehow its eyes were even blacker. For a moment, everything laid silent. And then this went on for what felt like hours, over and over again. Until the figure appeared over my bed.
"I will never let her go,"
it yelled. I exploded awake, covered in sweat. I jumped up and hit the lights. I was shaking from that horrible experience, and I didn't sleep the rest of the night. I called a local priest first thing in the morning. He came over and did a full cleanse of the house. Somehow, it seemed to work. Emma and I were not tormented anymore after that. It's been 4 years, and it's still quiet. But Emma still says she sees things every now and then, like a quick shadow or a figure standing in the distance watching her. Something tells me it's not gone, just dormant, and that terrifies me.